A friend for more than 30 years and one of his biggest supporters, Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei pays his respects to the family of Major General Qassem Soleimani, and the Commander-in-Chief of Iran's armed forces offered some words of comfort to Soleimani's widow.
He faced death 100 times, carrying out his duties, but he was scared of nothing. I hope God gives him a higher place in the other world. He was eager to martyrdom.
The Supreme Leader told the general's daughter how the entire nation appreciated all her father did for his country. A sentiment echoed by President Hassan Rouhani, who also had a strong message for the United States.
This great man deserved not to be killed by any ordinary person or terrorist, but to be killed by history's biggest terrorist. When this general died, the whole US Army is put on alert in the entire region.
The country is now officially in mourning. On the streets of the capital on Saturday, Iran prepares to say goodbye to one of its most important figures.
Major General Qassem Soleimani's image is now on full display across Tehran. People here credit the safety and security that they enjoy to him and his Quds forces, who have managed to keep away groups such as ISIL. Despite the fact that no one is looking for war with the United States, people here are demanding revenge.
I've only seen him on TV, but I feel like I've lost my father. The Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps and the army have to take their revenge. Our hearts are hurting. I express our condolences to his family.
Like the Supreme Leader said, the era of hit and run is done. They'll get a crushing response. It's the blood of our martyrs that have kept this country going, but I can't believe he's gone. It's like a nightmare.
Major General Soleimani was the head of the elite Quds Force of Iran's Revolutionary Guards, which runs Iran's military and clandestine operations abroad. The United States said it was responsible for the campaigns in Iraq, Lebanon, Syria, Germany, Kenya, Bahrain, and Turkey. Qassem Soleimani rarely appeared in public, but videos of his military activities added to his status, portraying him as a man who was not afraid of anything. Soleimani survived many attacks on his life, but it would be in Iraq, where armed groups trained by his Quds Force killed hundreds of Americans, that the United States ended his reign at the age of 62. Dorsa, Jabbari, Al Jazeera, Tehran.
And a red flag has been raised over the Jamkaran Mosque in Iran's holy city of Qom. It's a traditional Shia symbol of blood spilled unjustly and a call to avenge the person who was killed. Multiple Iranian military leaders are promising to retaliate for Soleimani's killing. A top Revolutionary Guard general has threatened attacks on ships in the Gulf and to punish Americans wherever they are in reach. And the latest international reaction to Soleimani's assassination has come from China's foreign minister. In a phone call with the Iranian foreign minister, Wang Yi said the United States should stop abusing the use of force. He also accused the US military of violating basic norms of international relations and worsening tensions in the Gulf region. Well, let's get more on this now. We're joined by Richard Waits. He's a defense analyst joining us live from Washington, D.C. Mr. Waits, always good to have you with us on Al Jazeera. Do you agree with the Chinese foreign minister that the US has violated the basic norms of international relations and worsened tensions in the Gulf?
The norms, no, since this is this practice of preventive strikes against impending military attacks is fairly common. I don't know about the international legal issues, but at least in terms of actual behavior, this is common. I would say the tensions will probably rise initially. We're seeing that now. That will persist for a while, but long-term, this could actually reduce tensions if the U.S. Strategy as laid out by President Trump succeeds, which is to deter Iran from making further attacks, reassure allies about U.S. deterrence capabilities, and so on. So, as usual, President Trump is comfortable taking these kind of high-risk decisions for potential high payoffs later on.
Yeah, I mean, it's reported that after the attacks on the U.S. Embassy, well, after the killing of U.S. personnel and the attacks on the U.S. Embassy, that the president was given a range of options, and the most severe was killing General Soleimani. On what you said about preventative strikes, do we know of the intelligence yet that proves that this was a preventative strike?
We do not. We have the Secretary of State state that. It's always a challenge in these situations. The U.S. needs to, wants to persuade other countries about why it took the decision to cite force protection. But if you reveal too much information, that means that the future attackers are going to be able to take advantage of that and perhaps exploit weaknesses in your defenses better.
And we already have, the Washington Post's Iraq correspondent quoting unnamed U.S. officials saying that the intelligence that they know of that Iran was going to carry out attacks led by General Soleimani was razor thin. We do expect Iran to retaliate, though. So how do you think that they will do that?
Well, I think that, as in the package indicated, the attacks, they have a range of options, but most likely they'll continue to pursue these kind of lower level attacks on Gulf shipping, on Saudi oil refineries, shooting down unmanned drones and so on, since they have tried to stay below the level of triggering a major U.S. response. And I think that one possible benefit of the recent U.S. actions is reminded the Iranians, who perhaps were becoming a bit overly uncautious, overly dismissive of the U.S. willingness to respond, that the U.S. does have response options and will use them. So if anything, that may reduce the likelihood of Iran continuing to escalate its actions in the thinking that the U.S. will not respond.
But given that, Iran's senior Iranian leaders have said that they will take revenge for this, what do you make of the U.S., deploying 3,000 troops to the region at this time?
Well, that's probably a prudent decision. I mean, I think the Iranians will take some response, and by putting more forces in the region, that means it will probably make it less likely again that they're going to resort to actual military strikes against U.S. forces, since they could easily lose in a battle. Whether these forces will help you be able to deter, for example, interference with Gulf shipping or terrorist attacks on U.S. or friendly targets in the region, less clear. That's often a function more for the intelligence community, local forces, and so on, than it is for the U.S. military.
Mr. Waits, it's interesting to get your perspective on this. Thank you for your time. For now, that's Richard Waits, live in Washington, D.C. Thank you.
Thank you.